Because all of us suffer from fear at some time, don't we? Okay, and this is a story about dealing with fear. Now, there was a man who lived his life very regimentally, you know, he lived on a road and he did everything at the same time sort of thing, you know, that type of man. And so he would get up at 8 o'clock, he'd walk down the street, catch the bus to work, and then he'd get back on the bus and get back at 5 o'clock at the bus stop, the same bus stop, just down the road, and he'd walk back home and do the things that he probably always did every evening. And this was his life. He was happy with it. It was fantastic. Boom, great. Well, anyway, what happened was some new neighbours moved into the street where he lived, and they brought with them this big, humongous dog. Well, to give it some emphasis, a dog, a big dog, right, moved in with his neighbours. This dog took an exception to this man. Didn't like him, don't know why. And what would happen is this man's life changed, because he'd get up every morning and he'd start walking to the bus stop. And so this man would be walking along the street, and as he got to the certain point where the dog lived, the dog would see him, and he'd give him chase, and he'd run, and this man would have to run past and get to the bus stop and run past the dog and get out of the dog's way as quickly as he could. Oh, need some air. And anyway, he'd get back at 5 o'clock, get off the bus, he'd be walking back home, get to that same point where the dog's house was, and that dog would see him, and his big eyes would look at him, and he'd be start chasing that man, a growling and a snarling and chasing this man, and this man would sprint, he'd run with the speed that only fear can give you, and he'd run back to his house as fast as he could, fumbling with his keys to get through the front door, slam the front door to find safety, find the sanctuary of his own house. And this started happening day after day after day, month after month, and it was getting this man down, because his life had changed. It wasn't just a happy life that he'd always experienced. He'd have this fear every day, twice a day in his life, and it was getting him down, and he started hating on himself because he wasn't standing up for the dog, he wasn't standing up for himself, and he started thinking, am I less of a man, you know, all that sort of stuff was happening. And anyway, one day, the point came where this man got off the bus, was walking down the road to his house, gets to the point where the dog is, the dog sees him, his eyes go up, and the dog gets up, starts chasing this man, and this man, as usual, picks up his feet, and he's legging it, he's running as fast as he can from the dog down the road, and he's running and running, and it was something on that day snapped inside of that man, and he thought to himself, no, enough's enough. This is the moment. I'm now going to stand up to this dog and teach this dog a lesson that ain't never been taught before. And as he was running along, he looked down and he found this big stick laying on the side of the road. He snatched it up, and with all the courage and the determination, and you know, all that frustration and anger that had been building up for 3 months, he turned round, stopped in his tracks and turned round to confront the dog. That moment, the dog pulled up in front of him, this big old dog pulled up in front of him. And it was that point man realised that that big old dog didn't have no teeth, and he'd been running from something that could do him no harm. There was no threat, just a perceived threat. And that's the thing, the learning from this story about fear. Some fears are good for us, aren't they? They will keep us safe, and they will help us, if you like. But most of the fears that we have in ourselves, and fear is the thing that will stop you dead in your tracks. Most of the fears that exist for us exist in our mind and do not exist. And just like that big old dog, they ain't got no teeth. And when you stand up to some of your fears, especially if you stand up to fears with positivity in yourself, you'll find that they will disappear. I hope you like that story, because I love it.